And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the DoDcast Postgame Show. I'm your host, District on Deck co-editor Ricky Keeler, as the Mets defeat the Washington Nationals 4-2 in the first game of this four-game, three-day series. Was not going to be one that you would expect the Nats to win on paper. A.J. Cole against Jacob DeGrom, but Nats sit Ryan Zimmerman, Anthony Rendon, Matt Wieters, Howie Kendrick, and for 8 innings, the offense really didn't do much, and then the offense woke up in the ninth. It was just a little bit too late. They had bases loaded, 1 out, a chance to tie it against A.J. Ramos, but then Howie Kendrick lines out to Brandon Nimmo in right field, and Andrew Stevenson strikes out looking, and the Nats fall 4-2. Really not much you can do against Jacob DeGrom, who was absolutely excellent tonight. When he's on his A game, even with your A lineup, it's tough to get hits, and let's be honest, this was not the Nats A lineup tonight. In fact, Dusty even said, I don't remember the exact quote, but he was hoping he wasn't going to get fined for the lineup that he put out there tonight. But you understand it. They didn't get in until 4:30 a.m. yesterday after that long extra inning game in Houston last night. So it's tough for this team to sort of balance getting guys off when you don't have many people in the lineup. There's the interesting stat that the Nats had more opening day starters in their Potomac lineup tonight as opposed to their regular lineup. But at least you got to give the Nationals this much. Even when it seems like they're out of a game, they fight back most of the time. And that's all you can ask for as a fan. But sometimes you're just on the wrong end of the game. And A.J. Cole, I thought, after a rough first inning, could have been a lot worse than it ended up being, and he actually pitched pretty well. Now, that could be because the lineup for the Mets isn't exactly the greatest thing in the world with all their injuries, but you take it from A.J. Cole, the outing he gave you every day of the week. Let's take a look at the totals, and let's take a look at the totals here. Again, feel free to send a question in the chat room or tweet me on Twitter at @DistrictOnDeck, @Rickinator555. Mets get 4 runs, 9 hits, no errors. The Nationals 2 runs, 7 hits, and no errors. Jacob DeGrom gets the win. He goes to 14-7, 7 2/3, 1 run, 5 hits. He struck out 10. A.J. Cole gets the loss, 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits, struck out 8, and walked 4. And A.J. Ramos, rough inning for him, needed 28 pitches. But he does get the save, 1 run, 2 hits, walked 2. And struck out 1. Taking a look here, and one of our commenters here, Double Mr. Clean, says Dusty should remove relievers after 1 inning. And it's one of the interesting things when you look at what's going on here. And thanks for the comment, by the way. It's a fine line because when you notice when the Nationals have these kind of games, Dusty's going to try to get as much relievers as possible because he really only uses Braden Kinsler when they're either ahead or down by a couple of runs, down by like a run. He only uses Sean Doolittle mostly when they're ahead. When Ryan Madison was healthy, he only used them when they were ahead. You can kind of tell in the last few weeks who Baker uses in games that seem out of reach and games that don't seem out of reach, which any manager is going to do that. But he kind of doesn't know, I think, or he does. I won't say doesn't know, but most of the time he uses a guy a bit too long. Like Matt Grace is kind of that guy he does that with sometimes, which is kind of surprising why he was so good in San Diego. You thought that with A.J. Cole pitching him a 6th inning after he needed all his pitches to finish the 1st inning. But he got through it. So I think that's a legitimate criticism, is especially when you get to the postseason, it's Dusty's got to know when to push the right buttons. And that's seriously a legitimate question when you go up against a Dave Roberts or you go up against, let's say, in the first round, of Joe Madden. Those are going to be questions he's going to have to answer if he wants to win that playoff series. So that is something to monitor. You look back at this game, and I think the 1st inning was key. The Mets were able to get right to A.J. Cole early. It was a lot of full counts. I mean, Cole just did not have the put-away pitches early in this game, kept falling behind hitters. He walked Brandon Nimmo. He walked Yoenis Cespedes. Asdrubal Cabrera then gets a base hit to make it 1-0. And then I think Cole catches a little bit of a break. Dominic Smith singles, and it looks like it's going to be 2-0, but since the ball hit the umpire, is ruled a dead ball. Bases remain loaded. So Cole does end up striking out d'Arnaud and Rosario to keep it 1-0. Did need 36 pitches to finish the 1st inning, but overall, when you keep it at 1 run, I think you're happy with that. I think the umpires got that one right. You could clearly tell if that ball hasn't hit the umpire, maybe Murphy's got a shot at it. So, I don't know. And with Smith's speed, you could get a double play on that probably. But the big news, obviously, for the Mets, Yoenis Cespedes left the game, right hamstring strain. He's probably going on the DL. They scratched in Vegas tonight. Travis Tyrone, who probably will come up for him. Remember, they just lost Michael Conforto yesterday. So you talk about a team that's dealt with so many injuries this year. The Nationals, of course, are one of them, but the Mets No Michael Conforto. Jay Bruce traded. Curtis Granderson traded. Noah Syndergaard out. Matt Harvey out. Joris Familia just came back tonight, although he wasn't used. And Ramos is the closer right now. Familia, I think, has to be eased back in before he gets that job back. So that's another injury issue. Traded away Addison Reed. Traded away Rene Rivera. A lot of guys gone. And they're playing a lot of kids. You had Matt Reynolds playing right field and playing left field. Give him credit. He actually didn't look so bad in left field. So they've been dealing with their fair share of injuries. We're taking a look also at, I thought after that inning, AJ Cole did a nice job. Fastball about 95 miles an hour, mostly 92, 93, but the slider I thought was key. Got a lot of big strikeouts on that pitch. And really the Mets didn't have much run-scoring situations against Cole after that. Now, there were some situations where he didn't get to the base quick enough, and that led to a DeGrom infield single. It was a tough time fielding plays between Adam Lind and Daniel Murphy. So maybe A.J. Cole needs more pitcher's fielding practice. But all in all, if you take 6 innings, 1 run, 4 hits any day of the week, despite the 4 walks, that's something he does have to work on. He has those command issues. I got another question here from Double Mr. Clean. When does Jason Worth return Sunday? There's Sunday question mark. I don't think you'll see Worth back Sunday. He was in rehab in Potomac, and we'll get into how he did later on when we do our minor league update. To me, you got to take it slow with both Trey Turner and Jason Worth. So I would not expect Worth back Sunday. I'm going to take a guess, and I don't have the info. Of course, if Dusty Baker says something, we'll tell. Maybe next week, maybe the end of next week in Milwaukee. To me, you still got to get Worth those at bats. You got to be careful with that foot, especially. I think you'll see Turner before you see Worth, and even Turner is having a rough go of it in his rehab assignment so far, while he's making good plays in the field. As for the Nats offense tonight, again, when you sit all the guys that are sitting, that they sat tonight, it's not easy at all to get any hits. And DeGrom was absolutely dominant in this ballgame. Did give up 3 singles, 1 to Jose Lobaton, 1 to Adam Lind, and Wilmer Defoe had an infield single. Nice night for Defoe, 2 for 4 with 2 hits, including a double in the 9th inning. Adam Lind, a home run in the 9th, his 10th of the season. He had a 2-hit night. Other than that, not much else doing. Adrian Sanchez, I thought, had a good at-bat against DeGrom in the 6th inning, I believe it was. Went 1 for 4. And he drove in Stevenson with a base hit in the 8th to get DeGrom out of the game. And that's one of the things you like about Adrian Sanchez. He's not exactly a guy who's going to put up great stats, but he does a nice job grinding out at-bats and being very productive. Like we talked about it a few weeks ago in that Marlins series, where he would be the guy that laid down the bunt or moved the runner over. You wouldn't see it show up in the box score, but he always does little things that are very impressive in my mind. I think the one guy you have to worry about, though, is Michael Taylor. He does not look like himself at all. He's bunting in the 9th inning when he's the tying run. You can't be doing that. Maybe you're bunting for a hit like one of our followers on Twitter talked about. He's 6 for 41 in August. And yes, I understand he came back early when Bryce Harper got hurt. The Nats don't really have any other options in the outfield. I get that. But when you only have one hit every 7 at bats, and he's really lost the play right now in terms of strikeouts, there's not really much else they can do when you think about it. Michael Taylor needs days off. Can't really give him the night off. Daniel Murphy, who's really swinging at some bad pitches. The swings don't look the same. He could use a couple days. Dusty Baker always talks about these dragging. And look, you just can't give nights off sometimes because there's so many guys out of the lineup. I mean, you look at tonight, it was like a West Palm Beach lineup. When would you expect Wilmer Defoe to hit 5th? Now, that really was the state of this lineup tonight. And actually, the bullpen didn't do a good job either. Matt Grace struggled, 2 runs, 3 hits over an inning in the 3rd. Joe Blanton gave up the big base hit in the 9th, which ended up backfiring on the Nats because that was a key insurance run. Especially at that point in the game, you had Lagares with the base hit in the 9th, and then the RBI single by Reynolds in the 8th, and the sac fly by Smith to make it 3-0 at that point. And again, I think Grace and Blanton, we talked about earlier, sometimes they go a little bit too long, but Dusty's saving Solis, he's saving Perez, he's saving Kinsler, he's saving Doolittle for tomorrow. Remember, you got the doubleheader Sunday. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And Max Scherzer did throw a bullpen session today. It hasn't been announced yet that he will start Sunday in one of those games, most likely game 2, I would think. So we will talk about that as well on our DoDcast Postgame show then. But good to see Lind at least get back into the power swing of things, and that is something to keep in mind going forward. He does not look great, but remember, he's not an everyday player. I mean, Adam Lind, I don't think is an everyday player, and I don't think Howie Kendrick's an everyday player, as great as he's been. You need Jason Worth back. You need Trey Turner back. You need Bryce Harper back. And this offense in September is going to have about maybe 2-3 weeks to get itself in the right frame of mind going into the playoffs. And normally when those September games, the Nats have a comfortable division lead, but normally those games where you would sit people, they're going to be playing guys because they want them to get into a rhythm. Overall, the Nats went 1 for 7 with men's scoring position tonight. They left 8 on base, 3 extra base hits. The Stevenson double in the 8th, and then he scored on the Sanchez base hit. Defo we talked about, and then Lynn with the home run as the Nats fall 4-2. So let's take a look at the rest of what's going on in Major League Baseball tonight. Especially let's start with what's going on around the division. The Phillies with a nice win over the Cubs 7-1. Jose Quintana gave up 6 runs over 5 innings. And how about this kid, Rhys Hoskins? 2-run shot in the first inning off Quintana. He's got 9 home runs, and he just got called up a couple of weeks ago, so he's up to a great start to his Major League career. Michael Franco with a home run, his 18th of the season, and Jared Eichhoff got the win. 1 run, 5 hits, and he struck out 8. As for the Atlanta Braves, they beat the Colorado Rockies by a final score of 5-2. Julio Teheran got the win, 2 runs over 7 in the third innings. Matt Kemp, a 2-run shot in the first inning. Kurt Suzuki also had a solo home run. Chad Bettis took the loss for Colorado. And because the Rockies lost, the Marlins move up closer in the wild card. They beat the Padres 8-6. They're now a game over 500. Dustin McGowan got the win. He's 8-1 out of the bullpen this year. Brad Zig with the save, and the big story, of course, Giancarlo Stanton. 2 more home runs. He goes 3 for 3 with 5 RBIs. He's got 49 homers in the year, 105 driven in. Ozuna, a 3-run homer in the 7th. He's got 30 and 101 this year. And I'm telling you, you look at the Marlins right now, if the Marlins get even close to the wild card, Giancarlo Stanton should be the MVP of the league. Because without the way he's been hitting right now, they're nowhere near postseason contention. The fact that they're 4.5 out in the wild card is amazing in itself. And they still have games with Milwaukee, still have games with Colorado, still have games with Arizona. So they're not out of it by any means. And those 6 games the Nats have with them coming up next week at Nats Park and then Labor Day week in Miami are going to be some big ones. Maybe not for the division because, again, the Nats are up 12.5. But it is something to keep in the back of your mind. I'm not saying Miami's going to go there and win all these games in a row and get back in the division race. I don't think it's going to happen. Nationals starting rotation is too good, and they're going to get wins just by the talent in that rotation. But, I mean, at 12.5 behind, I mean, Miami's starting to creep in a little bit, but I'm not going to get too worried about that. Let's take a look around with the other big scores, at least in baseball tonight. You have games in progress, Dodgers and Brewers, no score in the first inning. Diamondbacks trailing the Giants 1-0, that game in the bottom of the 3rd. Ron's not too happy, I'm sure, because the Red Sox are down 16-3 to the Orioles in the bottom of the 8th. And the Yankees and Mariners, a big game in the wild card picture, 1-1 in the 10th. Also, Minnesota with a win over Toronto, and Cleveland with a win over Kansas City. So that's what your update in the minor leagues. I mean, in the major leagues. Now let's get to the minor leagues. Scranton took on Syracuse tonight. The Scranton Rail Riders beat the Chiefs 9-1. Lone RBI coming from Michael Almanzar for the Chiefs, the third baseman. The loss goes to Phillips Valdez. 7 runs, 7 hits over 2 1/3. He takes the loss. Wander Suero did go up a run on 3 hits at the end of the ball game, but his ERA only goes up to 1.93. No big deal there. So the Chiefs dropped to 50 and 82. AA Harrisburg took on Reading, and they lost 3-1. All 3 runs coming in the bottom of the 5th inning for Reading on a 3-run shot by Devi Grulian, I guess that's how you say it. Lone RBI for the Senators coming from Jake Lowry. 2 hits for Dan Gamach. And Victor Robles got caught stealing twice. A second time, actually, this season, was picked off. So not a good night for Victor Robles on the bases. Taylor Hill takes the loss, 6 2/3, 3 runs, 6 hits, struck out 5, and walked 1. Doubleheader for Potomac against Frederick. They lost game 1, 1-0. Sterling Sharp took the loss there, but 6 innings, 1 run, 5 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. Not a bad game. Jason Worth did have a double in game 1. He went 1 for 3, but the Peanuts just 4 hits, and 2 of them came from Jake Sundberg, the DH. Then in the second game, Potomac answered right back. They scored all 5 runs in the 5th inning, and that was enough as they beat the Keys 5-0. RBIs from Daniel Johnson, his 18th of the season. Rhett Weissman, his 54th, and 3 more from David Masters. He's done a nice job this month for the Peanuts. Mariano Rivera Jr. the third, I think he is, gets the win. 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 strikeout, 2 walks. Jeffrey Rodriguez, 1 hit over 4 innings, and he struck out 4 in the no decision. So the Peanuts 60-70. They're still in the running for that wild card in the Carolina League, but not looking likely. Hagerstown did rally to get it to extra innings in West Virginia, but they lost 5-4. Still, Anderson Franco hit his 60th RBI of the season. Brandon Maggetto, an RBI, his 3rd, and Nick Banks, his 49th RBI of the year, and he had 3 hits, including a pair of doubles. So good performance for him. Brigham Hill got the no decision, 6 innings, 4 runs, 8 hits, and struck out 5, but Phil Morse took the loss in the 10th inning. How about A.J. Bogucki, though, out of the bullpen? 3 perfect innings and struck out 6. Really strong outing for him, and he's got a 3.31 ERA, but he's done a nice job as a reliever for Hagerstown. Finally, Auburn and New York Penn League action. They beat Batavia 4-1. David Smith got the win. 1 run, 2 hits. The run wasn't earned. Struck out 4 over 3 innings. Jake Cousins, 3 strikeouts in the 9th to get the save. 2 RBIs for Chance Shepard, and also RBIs from Nick Perkins and Jonathan Pryor. Seth Romero, probably one of his better outings so far in the Penn League. 4 innings, 4 hits, 4 strikeouts, 62 pitches, 41 strikes. So a good outing for Romero in Auburn. That's always good to see. Remember, the minor league season ends shortly after Labor Day. So not many games left for these minor leaguers. Of course, most of them will go to extended spring training. We'll see if Hagerstown, Potomac, or the GCL Nats get into the postseason. But remember, those are important because if guys get hurt, you want to have some rehab games for them. And also, you want these kids to keep playing. So not looking like there's going to be a lot of minor league playoffs for a lot of these Nats affiliates. So we're looking to see maybe if we got any news here from Dusty. Of course, again, Cespedes is going on the disabled list. So Travis Tyrone, as I said, will probably come up in his place. We also would be remiss not to say our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Texas and Louisiana with what's going on with Hurricane Harvey, a Category 4 hurricane. So please, if you're in those areas, stay safe, and our thoughts and prayers, everybody here at District on Deck is with all of you. So please stay safe. Chelsea Janes did tweet. Dusty said Ryan Zimmerman was not in line because he hurt his shoulder sliding into home last night. Hopes he will return Sunday. So more bad injury news for the Nationals. You'll probably see Adam Lind at first base you will see Adam Lind at first base on Saturday. So you hope he's back for the doubleheader tomorrow Sunday, because you don't want more injuries for this team. I don't know how many more injuries they can take, to be honest. It's amazing how this team stays in games with all the injuries they've had. So that'll be something we'll have to keep an eye on what Zimmerman's injury is. Because remember, Dana Murphy needs days off too. And it's what we talk about, where how many times can you sit players? So that's a huge injury. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but Ryan Zimmerman will get the day off tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow, let's take a look at tomorrow's matchup. So 4:05 Eastern first pitch. You can catch the game on Masson 2 and FS1 if you're not in the area. Robert Gazelman gets the ball for the Mets, 5-5 with a 5.65 ERA. He'll take on Gio Gonzalez for the Nats. Gio 12-5 with a 2.39 ERA. Gio with a 0.46 ERA in August. He has been absolutely outstanding. He's been great against the Mets this season, won both of his starts, a 2.03 ERA. Usually he's great at Citi Field, but he's done a nice job against the Mets in general over the last couple of years. Robert Gazelman's no easy task. He did pitch well against the Diamondbacks in his first start. 1 run over 6 1/3 last week. He just came back from injury a couple weeks ago. Remember, Seth Lugo's on the DL as well. He might return Sunday. He did throw a bullpen session. So all eyes will be on Seth Lugo as well. So you could see Lugo return on Sunday for the Mets and Max Scherzer return on Sunday for the Nationals. I would give Gio the edge here. Really, without Cespedes and without Conforto, without all these big bats in this Met lineup, a guy to watch would be Juan Lagares, who does well against Gio. And the top of the order with Nimmo and Lagares did do a good job tonight getting on base. But Gio controls the walks. He does a good job in scoring position. To me, he's the guy you want on the mound. I think the Nats, while you could argue that maybe Cole shouldn't have started. You could have pitched Gio today, maybe used Eric Fetty or Jacob Turner this weekend. You give Gio the extra day after throwing 121 pitches. It's not a bad idea at all. So I do think the Nats will go out there and they'll play better tomorrow, and I think that they will get the win. Again, doubleheader on Sunday. Tanner Roark will throw one of the games for the Nats. Max Scherzer likely will throw game 2. You probably won't hear a definite on that until tomorrow. So all things considering, you hope that he's Scherzer's back, and at least it's one guy that you don't have to worry about in terms of injuries. So Ron will be with you tomorrow for the afternoon game. And then Sunday night after the game on ESPN, Ron and I will do a combo DoDcast to talk about the doubleheader and any other Nats issues that happened throughout the weekend. So you get Ron tomorrow, you get Ron and myself on Sunday for the rest of the doubleheader. So what do we have up on the site today? We'll load that here. I have my 5 storylines for the Mets-Nats series. So you check those out. Also, Ron talks about how the bullpen tinkering will continue through September, and it's response to what happened last night with Sean Doolittle pitching the 8th and Brandon Kinsler pitching the 9th, and you're going to see that. I mean, Dusty's going to experiment with different things. He's going to see what works. So, again, when you have a big league like the Nationals do, you can afford to do that. So, remember, I think, especially in the playoffs, you might see Doolittle in the 8th if the best part of that team's lineup is coming up. Because normally now in this age of thinking, your closer faces the best part of the lineup. That's your goal. So I don't think you're stuck in set rules anymore for the most part, but you will likely see Doolittle and then Kinsler in the 8th, Doolittle in the 9th. Although what I read today was really interesting. Chelsea James wrote about it in the Washington Post. Ryan Matson's not coming back anytime soon. He has inflammation in the sheath around the tendon in his knuckle. It goes through his knuckle. He can't pitch until it stops flaring up. Although Mike Rizzo said in the article in the Post that Madsen is expected to be ready in plenty of time for the postseason. And what Chelsea wrote about, and I thought interesting, he's thrown his curveball over 17% of the time this year. Maybe it's an injury that comes from that, but they need Madsen back in a big way. When you got a guy throwing 100 like he was at one point, he's been a huge part of this bullpen. And with the trio of Kinsler, Madsen, Doolittle, a.k.a. the law firm, they need those guys back. So Ryan Madsen's injury will be something to monitor as well, but don't expect him back in the near future. Coming up tomorrow, I will have an article up on why the Nats need to re-sign Brandon Kinsler for next year. Remember, they have Doolittle next year. I have Madsen next year, but Kinsler's a free agent. So I make the case why the Nationals should bring him back. And we have a good interview for you coming up as well. Today, Ron got a chance to talk with Eduardo Perez, who will be calling the game with Dan Schulman and Jessica Mendoza Sunday night on ESPN. So he asked Eduardo a lot of good questions about Dusty Baker, about Daniel Murphy. So we'll have that interview up on the YouTube page and on the website tomorrow. So our thanks to Eduardo Perez for taking the time to talk with us before this big game. So we've done a lot of these cool ESPN interviews this year, and we thank them for reaching out to us. So you will hear that interview between Ron and Eduardo Perez tomorrow. So I'll just see here if anything else is of note here for the Nats. Not much else, at least to this point, other than Ryan Zimmerman not being back tomorrow. So that's another bad injury for the Nats, but as long as he's not going to the DL, and again, there's about 30 or so games to go. You're not going to rush guys back if you don't have to. So again, your final score, the Mets with a 4-2 win. Good performance by Jacob deGrom. And again, the Nats didn't play many of the regulars, and most of their regulars are hurt. So some of the games you're just not going to win. They have not been scoring runs this month, and it's understandable. But Daniel Murphy could use some days off. Michael Taylor's been struggling. You need those guys to get back into a rhythm. So maybe Anthony Rendon now enters the lineup tomorrow, and he's been hitting the ball better lately. He just missed a home run by a few feet in the 9th inning off Ramos to tie the game. So he looks like he's getting back into form, which is good. So we're just going to keep monitoring the offense, and hopefully Gio can go out there and pitch well and get a win tomorrow. Give us a like on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at District on Deck. Subscribe to the YouTube page and give this video a like. We have all our interviews, DoDcast Postgames. We did a cool postgame last night with Eric Heisman from Climbing Tal's Hill. So if you want more on the Astros, you can check that DoDcast that we did late last night. We also have minor league interviews. Hoping to do some more of those. before the season gets over with the Nats minor league affiliates. So that should be a lot of fun. So again, Ron will be with you tomorrow. Ron and I will be with you on Sunday. So until then, this has been District on Deck co-editor Ricky Keeler saying hope you have a great night. And Ron, we'll see you back here late tomorrow for Gio versus Gazelman as the Nats continue the series.